So, you're born somewhere in Italy. From day one, you've got the world on a silver platter. Literally, your diapers are worth more than a normal person's monthly paycheck. But you're not like your average rich brat. You're being homeschooled in something called Omertà. And since you're a sharp kid, you've got it memorized before you can even spell your own name. Basically, this code boils down to three things. First, when the cops ask about a crime, the only valid answer is, "I didn't see a thing," even if the hit happened right under your nose. Second, never call the 5 Nelo, even if you're the one being victimized. And finally, never ever betray the family. You know the words by heart, but you don't actually give a damn about the subtext. You only learned the script because your old man made you. To you, the only thing that matters is staying inside this bubble of infinite wealth. And for now, that's plenty. You grow up behind a human fortress of bodyguards you affectionately call uncles. Since you're the baby of the family, they keep you light years away from the family business. You don't know exactly what dad does for a living. You just know the mansion is massive, and the townspeople look at you like you're either a god or a ghost. One day you decide to push the envelope. You slip past the guards and hop into one of the associates' high-end rides. You're looking for a rush. You crank the engine, lose control for a split second, and thud you pin a pedestrian. It's a dry, brutal impact. You just ended an innocent life. Fear freezes you solid. In your kid brain, you're already picturing yourself in an orange jumpsuit, rotting in a hole for the rest of your life. You're shaking, waiting for the sirens. But the sirens never come. Instead, the cleanup crew arrives. With a couple of phone calls and a briefcase full of cash, the problem just evaporates. No interrogation, no body. Everything is fixed. It's your first taste of what real power and juice look like. Deep down, you're still a terrified kid, but you've just learned that in this world, the law is just a suggestion for people like you. Lately, the family business has less competition, which in your world is just code for fewer people left alive trying to put a hit on you. Because of the peace and quiet, they let you attend a mainstream school. Even though your bodyguards are watching you from the shadows, like hawks in tailored suits, you're finally surrounded by kids your own age. But there's a snag. You're terrified. You don't dare speak to anyone, so you just stand in the corner of the playground, isolated by your own freak factor. Then you spot something interesting. You see another rich kid buying lunch for everyone in the cafeteria. Instantly, he's the most popular guy in the room. Everyone's swarming him like flies on honey. Your brain connects the dots. The next day you mimic that strategy, but you crank it up to 11. You start flashing Benjamins and buying loyalty with high-end gifts and gourmet food. It works like a charm. You learn a priceless lesson. Loneliness is just a financial problem with a cash solution. Now you have plenty of friends, or rather an entourage of people who love what's in your wallet, not who's behind the name. This is the second time you realize money is magic. You decide that the phrase, "money can't buy everything," is a lie told by people who just haven't spent enough. You're living the dream surrounded by a fan club you literally bought and paid for. You're convinced money is the ultimate cheat code for every problem in the universe. But there's a crew of other rich kids, classic trust fund brats, who hate your guts. And since they have no clue who your old man really is, they aren't exactly shaking in their designer boots. Lately, the constant security feels like a straitjacket, so you go looking for a taste of freedom. You lock yourself in the bathroom, squeeze through a tiny window, and actually manage to ditch your bodyguards for the first time. You're feeling like a regular Houdini. But while you're busy high-fiving yourself for being a genius, you stumble right into those rich kids skipping class. They see you as a total poser, an arrogant prick who thinks respect has a price tag. Seeing you solo for once, one of them shoves you hard just to light the fuse. You know a bit of self-defense, but it's a numbers game, and you're losing. They start laying into you. It's the first time you felt the sting of a real beatdown, the metallic tang of your own blood in your mouth. You're terrified, and everything hurts. In a panic, you try to activate your superpower. You offer them every cent in your pockets just to make it stop. You scream that you can pay them. But these kids don't give a damn about your cash. They laugh in your face and just swing harder. Laying there on that cold, filthy floor, your unshakable faith in the almighty dollar takes its first massive hit. You just learned the hard way a stack of bills makes for a pretty useless riot shield against a fist to the jaw. You limp back to class with your body aching and your ego in a blender. Your bodyguards spot you. They don't say a word, but the vibe shifts instantly. Their eyes go dead serial killer cold. They don't dial 911, and they sure as hell don't go to the principal's office. They just go hunting. They find those punks and give them a professional-grade tune-up. It's calculated surgical and 10 times worse than the beatdown you took. But the real masterclass happens later. Dad makes one single phone call. That same afternoon, the bully's parents, the kind of high and mighty millionaires who think they own the world, show up at your front door. And that's where you witness the real dark magic. You see them on their knees, blubbering and shaking like leaves, begging your dad, and more importantly, you for mercy. By the next morning, those kids are ghosted. New city, new life, far away from you. In that moment, something inside you does a factory reset. You realize that money is just colorful paper. Any schmuck can have cash, but power real juice. That's making millionaires crawl. That's making your enemies vanish into thin air. And for the first time, you smirk. Not because you're happy, but because you realized you like the taste of fear. You're done being the prey. You just climb to the top of the food chain. You make the easiest call of your life. You drop out. Why study history when your family is writing its own chapters in blood and gunpowder? Why master math when you're counting stacks of cash that don't officially exist? You stand before your father. Not as his little boy, but as a volunteer soldier ready for the front lines. He doesn't give you a proud dad hug or a diploma. He hands you a cold piece of iron and a scrap of paper with an address on it. Your criminal career officially kicks off. But don't get it twisted. You aren't starting at the top smoking cigars and calling shots. Your last name gets you in the door, but it doesn't buy you a seat at the head of the table. You start at the bottom of the food chain, doing the dirty work. You're on collection duty hunting down desperate losers who thought they could outsmart the Mafia bank. You quickly master the art of aggressive negotiation, which basically means using a baseball bat to explain that having functional kneecaps is a privilege, not a constitutional right. You spend your nights smuggling crates on damp, dark docks while your old classmates are tucked in bed or cramming for some pointless SATs. Every time you break the law, it's like an electric jolt to your system. There's no turning back now. Morality becomes a fuzzy concept, something only poor people and suckers worry about. You realize crime is the only business where the customer is always right, because if they disagree, they cease to be a customer. Permanently. You've just graduated from the school of hard knocks with a PhD in intimidation, and for the first time, you finally feel like you belong. The inevitable finally arrives. Father Time is undefeated, and even the great lion, the man you thought was immortal, succumbs to old age. His funeral is a massive who's who of hypocrisy. Your rivals are shedding crocodile tears for the cameras while doing the mental math on how long it'll take to shove a knife in your back and grab the empty throne. With the old guard out of the way, the fragile piece shatters into a million pieces. A brutal civil war for succession kicks off. And you learn the hard way that your worst enemies aren't the feds or the rival gangs, it's your own blood. Your brothers, your cousins, the guys you grew up playing tag with. They now see you as nothing but a roadblock. You realize that in this criminal Game of Thrones, mercy is a death sentence. Hesitate for a second, and you're leaving the scene in a body bag. So you decide to cut out the last bit of humanity left in your soul. You don't win this war by being the strongest or the most charismatic. You win by being the most twisted, cold-blooded SOB in the room. You use your street smarts to set death traps for people who share your last name. Maybe it's an ambush at a family wedding, or maybe you spike your older brother's wine at a peace summit. You play dirty, you lie through your teeth, and you spit on every sacred family bond. The blood of your own kin stains your hands in a way that no amount of money can wash off. But hey, it works. Silence reigns again. You take your seat at the head of the table in the leather chair that still smells like your father's cologne. You're the new Don. The big boss. Everyone bows their head when you walk by shaking with fear. You've won the crown, but the price was becoming a solitary monster sitting on a mountain of family corpses. Welcome to the Mount Olympus of the underworld. You're the undisputed king of this concrete jungle. You've got so much cash you stopped counting it decades ago now. You just weigh it by the pallet. Politicians dine on your dime. Judges are your Saturday morning golf buddies. And the local PD is basically your own private security firm. You've become a living legend, the man everyone fears, but no one dares to touch. And that's exactly your problem. Absolute success has a lethal side effect. It makes you arrogant, bloated, and careless. You start high-fiving your own reflection. You actually believe the hype that you're untouchable, a god among mortals. You relax. You stop checking the dark corners. You stop eyeing every shadow. You've become predictable. While you're busy enjoying your great Gatsby parties and your false sense of security, something new is brewing in the streets. A new breed of criminals is rising. They're young, they're starving, and they're hyper-violent. Worst of all, they don't give a damn about your old-school traditions or your code of honor. Your advisors are waving red flags. They tell you these new crews are hijacking your turf, selling cheaper product, and using tech you can't even wrap your head around. They're talking about encrypted apps and crypto laundering while you're still out here using payphones and briefcases full of paper. You just laugh them off. You call them low-class amateurs. You think a lion shouldn't concern himself with the opinions of sheep. What you don't see is that they aren't sheep. They're a pack of rabid wolves. And you're just a fat, slow lion who forgot how to hunt. You're sleeping soundly on your golden throne while they're soaking the foundations of your castle in gasoline. The wake-up call is a punch to the throat. It's not the smell of fresh coffee that rouses you. It's the ear-splitting roar of C4. Those young wolves you brushed off. They're done waiting. They've launched a full-scale surgical strike, and they've tossed your old-school rulebook in the trash. They hit your estates, your fronts, and your crews all at the same time. Blind with desperate rage, you try to hit back. You're screaming orders into phones that are already tapped, sending your soldiers into meat grinders the enemy has already scouted with 4K surveillance drones. Your war is over before it even starts. It's a one-sided slaughter. Your empire, the fortress of blood and fear that took you decades to build, evaporates in a single night of fire and snitching. You're not the king anymore. You're just a target. You've got no move left but the loser's exit. One, you grab an old duffel bag and stuff it with every dollar you can find, a few million, which is basically pocket change compared to what you used to have. You scuttle out the back door like a terrified rat while your mansion burns behind you. You jump into some random sedan and floor it into the dark, your heart hammering against your ribs like a drum. As you watch your defeat in the rearview mirror, you start gaslighting yourself. You tell yourself this is just a strategic retreat. You swear you'll be back. You swear you'll reclaim what's yours and take everyone's head. But in reality, the game is already over. You're laying low in the hood, miles away from the penthouses and the luxury that used to be your home. Suddenly, a pack of street thugs cuts you off. They're young, gritty, and dangerous. They spot your gold Rolex and those $1,000 shoes. Your old boss instinct kicks in. You roar at them with everything you've got. Do you even know who I am? I own this city. But they don't see a king. They just see a delusional old man in a suit that costs more than their life. They laugh and jump you. It's a cruel sense of déjà vu, but this time there are no uncles in the shadows to bail you out. They beat you senseless, strip you of your watch, your wallet, and your dignity. You hear the sickening crunch of your own bone as they snap your leg. They leave you rotting in the mud, bleeding and whimpering. Then you see them, the blacked-out SUVs of your enemies. They found you. Panic takes over. With a broken leg, you crawl like a wounded animal toward the only exit, left a stinking open sewage pipe. You squeeze into the darkness, surrounded by filth and literal rats. And there, in the foul silence of the sewer, you wait. Hours turn into days. The fever spikes. The pain is unbearable. No one is coming for you. You die alone, shivering from the cold, and the fear while the city you once ruled keeps on spinning without you. No one will ever know that the king died as rat food in the trash. That's a wrap for today. I'll be dropping more stories like this soon. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one.